Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a book that's fascinated millions, the Celestine Prophecy. It's all about a mysterious ancient manuscript found in Peru that seems to predict a massive global spiritual awakening. And really, it's not just a story. It's presented as a kind of roadmap for a totally new way of looking at our lives, our history, and even our future.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the core prophecy itself. Then, we'll unpack the whole historical backdrop that supposedly set the stage for right now. After that, we're going to dive into a pretty radical new idea about human energy. And finally, we'll explore the path toward a more conscious and, connected way of living.
All right, let's jump right in. The whole thing really hangs on this one single, powerful idea that a critical mass of people are all waking up at the same time, and that this is going to trigger a huge shift in consciousness for the entire planet. At the heart of it all is this feeling that more and more of us are sensing something else going on, just beneath the surface of our normal, everyday lives. And what the manuscript says is that once enough of us start paying attention to these weird, meaningful coincidences, our whole culture is going to shift and start asking, hey, what is this mysterious process that's actually guiding our lives here?
It all starts with the first insight, which is basically you personally, noticing the synchronicities in your own life. You know those moments, they just feel too perfect to be an accident? Like you think of an old friend and then boom, they call you out of the blue. Or you stumble upon the exact answer to a problem you've been wrestling with. The insight isn't just about seeing them, it's about feeling that sense of destiny behind them, that amazing feeling that your life is part of some bigger unfolding story.
Now here's the thing, this awakening isn't just happening out of nowhere. The second insight puts this moment right now into this huge historical context. It basically argues that we've been unconsciously building toward this for the last 1,000 years. So the idea here is that to really get why we're feeling so spiritually restless today, you have to look back at the entire last millennium. The manuscript frames history as this slow, gradual shift in how we see the world, with each big era sort of paving the way for the next great leap in consciousness. And what's so interesting here is how it maps out where we got our truth from. Back in the medieval world, reality was pretty much defined by the church, period. Then the Reformation kind of cracked that open, letting individuals search for their own truth. And finally, the modern age shifted our whole focus from the heavens down to earth, using science to try and master the physical world and create some material security for ourselves.
This really shows the fundamental trade-off we made. We went from a world where everything had some kind of spiritual meaning, to a world with a totally new mission: explore, figure out, and conquer nature to make life here on Earth more comfortable. And according to the manuscript, this 400-year-long project was, a huge success. But it also left us with this deep spiritual void that we're only now starting to look at.
Okay, let's get into the next set of insights, because this is where things get really wild. They propose a completely new kind of physics, not just for the universe, but for how we humans interact with each other. This is where the framework gets totally transformative. Now this is a complete game changer. The manuscript claims that at the most basic fundamental level, everything we think of as solid stuff is actually a form of pure energy. And here's the kicker. This energy isn't just floating out there, it's responsive. It actually flows and changes based on what we expect and where we put our focus. And get this, according to the text, we can actually learn to see this energy. It suggests that our appreciation for beauty is like a guide. The more beautiful something seems to us, the higher its energy, and the closer we are to seeing its underlying energy field. The text even talks about experiments where focused positive attention can literally help plants grow faster. It's painting a picture of a universe that's not a collection of dead things, but a single, living, vibrant energy system.
Okay, so this leads to a pretty profound explanation for human conflict. If everything is energy, and we often feel drained or disconnected from that energy, what do we instinctively do? Well, the fourth insight argues that for centuries, we've been trying to steal it from each other. This invisible fight for energy is presented as the secret dynamic behind almost every argument, power struggle, and conflict we have.
I mean, think about the last argument you were in. The manuscript breaks it down like this. It wasn't just about the facts, it was a battle for psychological control. Each of you was trying to make your reality the dominant one. And according to the text, the person who wins literally pulls the other person's energy into themselves, leaving the loser feeling physically and emotionally wiped out. So if all our conflicts are really just this unconscious scramble for energy, what's the solution? Where do we possibly go from here? This brings us to the way out.
the path away from all that conflict and toward real connection.
And the fifth insight reveals this beautifully simple solution. We don't have to fight over energy, because there's an infinite supply. The manuscript says there's this endless source of energy available to all of us from the universe itself, and we can connect with it by doing things like appreciating nature through meditation, or even just focusing on a feeling of love. We can fill ourselves up completely without having to take from anyone else.
So this puts us at a crossroads, really. It's a very clear choice. We can keep living a life based on scarcity, getting caught up in what the book calls control dramas to steal energy from others, which just leaves everyone feeling exhausted. Or we can choose a life of abundance, tapping into that universal source to feel this constant state of love, security, and what the text calls an inner buoyancy.
Once we learn how to get our energy from this universal source, it completely changes the rules for how we interact with each other. Now, the manuscript has more insights about our personal journey, like clearing past traumas and following our intuition, but to see the big picture impact, we're jumping ahead to the 8th insight, which lays out a whole new way of relating to other people. And this new ethic is all about giving, not taking. Your first job is to keep your own energy high by staying connected to that source. Then, when you're with other people, you stop seeing them as competition. Instead, you focus on their inner beauty, their soul, their uniqueness, and you consciously send them energy to uplift them. This creates this amazing positive flow that helps everyone, and it keeps you open to the important messages and synchronicities that other people bring into your life. And the culmination of all of this is just a stunning prediction. The 9th insight claims that as more and more of us start living this way, we'll collectively raise our vibrational frequency. This isn't just about personal growth anymore. It's about the evolution of our entire species. This process will transform our culture, moving us away from conflict and towards synergy, and eventually it will allow humanity itself to bridge the gap between the physical and spiritual worlds. We'll essentially evolve beyond our current form. And so, after this whole incredible journey through history, physics, psychology, the manuscript leaves us with the ultimate question. If this whole thing is real, if we really are all part of some grand, conscious evolution toward a higher state of being, then where exactly are we all evolving to? That's the mystery it leaves us with.